Hello, everybody. This is Ryan Prasad, your broker here at Florida Realty. Today, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to fill out an exclusive right of sale listing agreement, specifically the Florida Realtors ERS-20tb form. This is one of the most important documents you will ever use as a listing agent, and it's also one of the most commonly filled out incorrectly by new agents. In this training, I'm not just going to read the contract to you. I'm going to teach you how to actually complete it in the real world. We're going to go section by section, and I'm going to explain every single place where you need to type something in, check a box, or have the seller initial or sign. I'll also walk you through real scenarios, common mistakes I see agents make, and how to avoid compliance issues before they happen. I want you to follow along with the agreement while you listen. Pretend you're sitting next to me and we're filling this out together for your very first listing. By the end of this video, you should feel confident opening this form, completing it from start to finish, and submitting it without hesitation. Let's get started. We start on page 1. Before you even read paragraph 1, you need to understand something. At the bottom of page 1, and every other page in this agreement, there is a line that requires seller initials and broker or authorized associate initials. Every seller initials every page. You initial every page. If there are 2 sellers, they both initial separately. This applies to all 5 pages. If even one page is missing initials, the agreement is considered incomplete. Now we move into paragraph 1, authority to sell property. The first fill-in here is the seller's name. You do not guess this. You do not take the seller's word for it. Before you type anything, you go to the county property appraiser website for the county where the property is located. You search the address and copy the owner name exactly as it appears. If it says a trust, the trust name goes here. If it lists 2 people, both names go here. This determines who must sign later. Right after that, you fill in the brokerage name, which is Florida Realty. Next, in paragraph 1, you fill in the beginning date and the termination date. The beginning date is the day the listing starts. The termination date is the last day of the listing and always ends at 11:59 p.m. This date must be filled in. If it is missing, the agreement is invalid. The language in this paragraph also explains that once a contract is signed, the agreement automatically extends through closing. That protects your commission. You do not write anything else in this paragraph beyond the dates and names. Paragraph 2 is description of property. This is where many agents get sloppy. First, you fill in the street address, full address, no abbreviations that change meaning. If there is a unit number, include it. Then you move to the legal description. This comes directly from the property appraiser. If it is short, you can paste it in. If it is long, you check the box that says See Attachment and attach the full legal description as a separate document. Do not summarize it and do not rewrite it in your own words. Still in paragraph 2, subsection B is personal property, including appliances. This is where you list everything that is staying with the house: refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, washer, dryer, mounted fixtures, anything that could be questioned later. If the seller says, I'm taking the washer and dryer, you either do not list them here or you clearly exclude them in writing. Leaving this vague is how post-closing disputes happen. Subsection C is occupancy. You must choose whether the property is currently occupied by a tenant or not. This is not optional. You check 1. If it is occupied, you must fill in the lease expiration date. If it is month to month, say that. Never leave this blank. Buyers and lenders care about this more than you think. Paragraph 3 is price and terms. In subsection A, you fill in the list price in dollars. In subsection B, you check which financing types the seller will accept. You can check more than one: cash, conventional, VA, FHA, or other. If the seller is open to all of them, check all of them. If they are not, reflect that accurately. Then you see the seller financing section. This entire area stays blank unless the seller is actually offering seller financing. If they are, you must fill in the loan amount, terms, interest rate, and whether it is fixed or variable. If you are unsure, stop and consult with a professional. Do not invent terms. Next is the assumption of existing mortgage section. Again, only fill this out if the seller is allowing assumption. You would fill in the mortgage amount, assumption fee, loan term, start year, interest rate, and whether lender approval is required. If this is not happening, leave it blank. Then you get to subsection C, seller expenses. This is where you write the maximum amount the seller agrees to pay toward closing costs, discount points, or concessions. If the seller agreed to pay $5,000, write $5,000. If they did not agree to pay anything, you leave it blank or write 0 depending on your brokerage practice. Do not guess. Paragraph 4 is broker obligations. There is nothing to fill in here. This paragraph explains what we, as the broker, agree to do. You do not add anything. Paragraph 5 is multiple listing service. Again, nothing to fill in. This paragraph explains that once the property is publicly marketed, it must be entered into MLS within 1 business day, unless the seller opts out later. This matters for compliance, but there are no blanks here. Now we are on page 2, and again, everyone initials the page. Paragraph 6 is broker authority. This paragraph has multiple subsections that require attention. Subsection A is public marketing. This is the default. By leaving this section as written, the seller authorizes you to market the property publicly, place signs, advertise online, market to other agents, and display the listing on the internet. Subsection B is the seller opt-out. This is where the seller says they do not want the property publicly marketed or listed in the MLS. If the seller chooses this, you must check the box in 6B, I, and the seller must initial on the specific initials line provided right under that subsection. If this box is checked, you cannot place a sign, cannot list on MLS, and can only market within your brokerage. Make sure the seller understands this before checking it. Subsection C authorizes you to obtain mortgage information. Nothing to fill in. Subsection D allows you to provide comparative market analysis. Nothing to fill in. Subsection E is the lockbox authorization. If the seller agrees to a lockbox, you check this. If not, you leave it unchecked. The language explains that a lockbox does not guarantee security and that valuables should be removed. Make sure the seller understands that. Subsection F confirms you are acting as a transaction broker. This stays as written. Subsection G deals with virtual office websites. This is where you can restrict automated valuations or public comments. If the seller does not want automated estimates or reviews displayed next to the listing online, you check the appropriate boxes. If they are fine with it, you leave them unchecked. Paragraph 7 is seller obligations. There are no blanks here, but this paragraph matters. It requires the seller to cooperate, provide access, keep utilities on, disclose material facts, and comply with FRPT if applicable. You should verbally review this with the seller, but you do not fill anything in. Now we are on page 3. Again, initials at the bottom. Paragraph 8 is compensation. This paragraph has multiple subsections that absolutely must be addressed. Subsection A is the primary listing compensation. This is where you write either a percentage of the total purchase price, a flat dollar amount, or a combination. For example, 6% or $10,000 or 3% plus a flat fee. Whatever you and the seller agreed to goes here. This field cannot be vague. It must be clear. Subsection B deals with option consideration. If the buyer is paying for an option, you can enter a percentage or dollar amount here. If no option is involved, you can leave this blank. Subsection C is leasing compensation. If this listing also covers leasing and the seller agrees to pay a leasing fee, you fill in the percentage or amount. If not, leave it blank. Subsection D explains when the broker's fee is due and includes the protection period. You must fill in the number of days for the protection period. This is the number of days after the listing expires during which you are still protected if the seller sells to someone you introduced. Typical numbers are 30 or 60 days. Do not leave this blank. Subsection E addresses retained deposits. If the seller retains a deposit due to buyer default, you can enter the percentage of that deposit the broker is entitled to, not to exceed the fee in 8A. If you do not use this, you can leave it blank. Subsection F states that commissions are negotiable, nothing to fill in. Paragraph 9 is a notice regarding buyer brokers. There are no blanks here. This paragraph explains that buyer brokers represent buyers and that the seller is not required to pay them. Paragraph 10 is compensation to buyer brokers. This paragraph requires an active choice. Option A allows you to offer compensation to a buyer broker from your listing compensation. If this is selected, you must fill in a percentage or dollar amount. Option B allows the seller to pay the buyer broker directly. Again, you must fill in the amount if selected. Option C means no compensation will be offered. If nothing is checked, none is checked, option C automatically applies. Make sure the seller understands this and makes a conscious decision. Paragraph 11 is brokerage relationship. This confirms transaction broker status. No blanks. Paragraph 12 is conditional termination. If there is a cancellation fee, you write the dollar amount here. If there is no cancellation fee, you can leave it blank or write 0. Do not invent a number. Page 4 again requires initials. Paragraph 13 is dispute resolution. If the seller and broker agree to arbitration, they must initial on the arbitration line. If they do not initial, arbitration does not apply. Do not initial for them. Paragraph 14 is miscellaneous. No blanks here. Paragraph 15 is additional terms. If there are additional terms that do not fit anywhere else, you write them here. If there are none, leave it blank. Do not write NA. Finally, page 5 is the signature page. Every seller signs and dates. Every seller fills in their contact information. If there are 2 sellers, both sign. Then you sign as the broker or authorized sales associate. Fill in Florida Realty as the brokerage name and complete the contact fields. This page also requires initials at the top and bottom, just like every other page. When you finish, you review every page for initials, every blank for accuracy, and every signature for completion. If you do this correctly the first time, your listing will sail through compliance and your transaction will start clean. That is how you properly complete the ERS-20tb from start to finish. Thank you.